it totally altered my whole life.
Wow.
And even if only that 1 second happened in my life was worthwhile. So then
Wow.
I got that verse about a moment's association, because what it is you see spirit, you see it,
Mm.
you know it, like you see this color yellow,
Right.
and so there's no question anymore. It's just your choice.
The quote is,
know?
one moment's association with a pure devotee
Yeah.
will change the whole trajectory of your life.
And that is just, so much, and we don't have time to talk about that. But because Prabhupada, when he entered the room, it was an experience that he filled the room, and yet he was so small.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Sridham, Mayapore in West Bengal, India. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath. Kostuba's off as I do this interview series. It's our last day before we hit the road. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is episode 1533, and today is February 8th, 2025. Got a very, very, very special guest. Got lots of special guests in the room with us live. And then we got a very special guest, Sitala Devi, who we're bringing on soon. And Mara, good morning. How are you?
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
afternoon.
It's good morning for them. Good evening for us.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Mara. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm
Good day
good.
today?
Great day.
It's Ekadasi today. What did we do? We had a good day.
Yeah, we went to the Jagai and Madai Ghat.
We went to Jagai and Madai Ghat. That was good. And we read from the Chaitanya Bhagavat all about the pastimes of Jagai and Madai. And I tell you, it's a perfect example of what you want to, how like when someone does something so unlovable and so horrible and so like nasty, how you just, we call it naturally. We naturally want to punish them. We want to strike back. We want revenge. We want to take them out, or we want to like hide from them. And the whole story of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda is how we actually have to see them, which is like total compassion. Like when I see someone doing something stupid, I want to like, what do you think you're doing? And way Lord Nityananda sees it is, oh, we have to give these people complete mercy and love.
Yeah.
And it's such a great way to recalibrate my thinking process. So that was a very special day. We went to the place where after these people became liberated souls, Jagai and Madai, if you don't know the story, after that, they built a ghat for bathing. A ghat means a place where you walk down the stairs and you could go right into the Ganga. So we did that this morning. Then we went to Murari Gupta's house. That was special too. Right?
It was very nice.
Murari Gupta temple. And Murari Gupta was one of these also like fascinating householders, like, liberated souls, so many incredible pastimes with Lord Chaitanya. Matter of fact, I was listening to Sitala tell stories about Murari Gupta. I've been stalking her website,
Yeah, I know.
her YouTube videos. Like whenever someone sees me around walking around the room, I've got my pocket and my YouTube playing out loud. So I'm just walking around listening to Sitala on my downtime.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a good morning.
And then we had another great lunch over it.
Yeah, this whole is Ekadasi. It's a special fast from grains and beans, but Janeshwar's mother and wife have been taking care of us every day and feeding us, and it was quite wonderful. Yeah. So great to be here. Any other announcements, Mary?
I should mention we have no show tomorrow because we'll be traveling. So we'll be back on Monday at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay, great. And that's just like a regular show, right?
Yeah, back to Bhagavatam.
Okay. Without further ado, Sitala Dasi, welcome to the show. She's here. Oh, but before you say one holy word, I'm going to read. It's not like your official bio. I think Linda might have made up the bio from what she knows of you. Sitala Devi met her guru or got into Bhakti in Detroit, Michigan in 1970, and was initiated by my Param Guru, Srila Prabhupada, who's the guru of my guru, in 1971. She has been instrumental in service to the deities and including arranging for the carving of the deities and creating devotional outfits for the deities, notably establishing an embroidery shop in Vrindavan that produced numerous Mary, you moved the screen and now it's just it's going wacky. Anyway,
We
you
don't want to
you
hear it, so
you
we can move on.
you created this whole you created sort of like a you created at this time there was temples starting all over the world, and like most people didn't even know what to do with deities, and so you had to go to India. You were dealing with all these deity shops and people have owned. It's like the only there's these places. It's most people can't even get this in their head that there's deity shops where you shop for your deity and for outfits for the deity. It's like a whole thing, and people who are like new to all this, it's almost unbelievable. Do you want anyway? Well, first of all, I want to say welcome to the show. And another big part of the bio, your bio, is that you've become an expert at the bios, the lives of historical saints, and the Vedic culture is filled with these incredible saints. And right now, we're almost finished with this book you've wrote, The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur, as you can see. And we've been promoting it because it's such a great, easy read. I'm highly encouraging everybody in this room to buy one immediately, and get one for a friend. Don't get one, just get two, double it. And Americans can get it on, if you're listening, can get it on Amazon USA. But welcome to the show. How are you? I'm sorry, I'm keeping talking.
Thank you so much. I really would like to say first just how cool this is for me to be here, because I'm another, those people that are not here every day. So I never saw this part of it. I never saw all you people out there.
On the screen, right?
And we're like all this family, and I never met all my family members, And the thing is, I just met, personally, everybody here, the team. And it just is an amazing thing for me because I watch them all the time, not necessarily every day, but pretty much I'm up on it. And I feel like we're like the oldest friends and closest buddies. And,
all
and
my dirt.
So when I see them, the dented can and all that, and and so when I see them, I'm like, oh, Raghu, Mira, and they're like, who are you? So it must happen to them just all the time that we have all these, and now I'm looking and I'm seeing all these people. And because when you're an other, you don't see this beginning part.
Right.
You don't see him saying hello to everybody, and he's saying hello. He knows each one of you out there. And it's just an honor, and it's so cool to just participate. It's ecstatic. It's just really, really nice. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. And when I heard you were an other, I was very honored because, my favorite thing to do, and maybe my specialty, is to really try to explain Bhakti esoterica to simple people, a New York City cop, some guy I'm doing jujitsu with, or someone who knows nothing about nothing. Those are my favorite people to explain to. So when I hear that elevated, dedicated devotees who've been practicing much longer than I have Bhakti are listening, I'm always like, ooh, but I'm honored. And and first I want to say I apologize for anything I've done that might have been offensive, because this isn't your normal Bhagavatam class, obviously. But
No,
thank
we
you so
love
much
it.
for
We
your
love it.
encouragement.
And I have to say why I love it so much, because, we are young kids, and we started this mission that Srila Prabhupada brought to us, when we were very young. I was 19 when I joined. I'm 75 now.
Mm.
And, so there was nothing. Nobody knew Bhagavatam. I mean, in the West, in America, all around the world, there were none of these books that you're reading Bhagavatam every day.
Mm.
And at that time, there was nothing,
There was not even the Bhagavatam in 1970, translated by Prabhupada.
No. Well, Prabhupada brought the first canto with him.
You know what? We got to, this is a great way to start. All right, go on. And then
I want to kind of go back and say how miraculous things are and why I feel so much bliss to see what you're doing. Because, if you go back even further, like we're looking at the Bhagavatam, and you're seeing this is thousands of years ago. that in the Bhagavatam, the people that you're talking about and reading about every day, they're talking about us now. That's the conversation, is that this Kali Yuga is coming. It's going to be really bad. People are going to be, what's the verse? Short-lived, unlucky.
Manda sumanda matayo manda bagya hiupadrutaha.
Yes.
Most of all, always disturbed.
Most of all, always disturbed. And so we have
Check.
we know we're there now. We see it.
Yeah.
And so they were looking at, what to do, what are we going to do, so that's why that Bhagavatam was spoken, but it was all hidden, for so thousands of years, and Mahaprabhu came here, and then this is the beginning of him starting to manifest this wisdom that's for everyone. It's a world of wisdom. It's a culture. It's a life. It's not a sectarian religion or something.
It's a world of wisdom.
And, so just thinking that this has been percolating for thousands of years, and then Mahaprabhu's come here where we're sitting now, this ecstatic place.
Mayapore.
And then, one by one, we have these great acharyas. That's why I'm so into studying about them, that have brought it a little bit closer to us. And so then, it came to us when we were just in the 60s, everybody knows what was going on there. And it was wild. But we see that as part of Krishna's arrangement.
Sure.
Of that this is meant to happen. It's a prediction that all of these things would start to pour out into the world. This information, these opportunities that were never there for anybody before. So, we just dove in so strongly to try to help Srila Prabhupada to do what he wanted to do and to bring it further. And, now when you look, like there's been, so many mistakes and so much naivety and immaturity, but, enthusiasm, eagerness, and whatever. And now we look, and there's I think it's going on 600 million books that have been distributed out in the world, when 50 years ago, when I joined, there wasn't even a book,
Unbelievable.
So you have to look at what's happening. It's because it's like these waves that are just like we're in this room, there's all the internet waves, we can't see them, but all these books and all this chanting is generating these waves, and it flows out into the world, and it is altering it, So, we've been through so many things, and, a lot of failure, a lot of success and whatever, but what's going to happen next? And that's the real, I find that it's very interesting studying the acharyas, because you see that they're not all the same. They're very, very different personalities, and their preaching strategies are very different. And according to their time, their place, their circumstances. And so, we knew what was going on in the world when we were, young. And there's certain things that were really important, and Prabhupada addressed all those things to us. And so even though we were a very difficult group of people to convince of anything,
Sure.
The motto was don't trust anybody over 30.
Yeah.
Don't follow any authority. Don't, we were rebellious, and Prabhupada's got us following all these rules and doing everything, because he touched our hearts, so for us to think, okay, what happens? We're all departing day by day. I hear of, another god brother or god sister that's on their way out. And so, you wonder what the future will be. And so I'm just happy to see kind of, next generation people that are looking to the future, and they're looking to how to reach more people. And I think that you've got a formula now that maybe others can follow. I don't know, or maybe it's just unique to you and Kastuba. The way you talk together is just perfect. But you are reaching more people than most at least around the world. India, yeah, that's happening. It's just like this mega wave of.
It's pretty amazing, India,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
I mean, I go in the airport, people are like, ISKCON?
Well,
ISKCON?
India is like, the Hare Krishna explosion part 2 India. That's what's happening here, you know.
It's quite unbelievable.
But the rest of the world also needs to explode the next, you know, waves, because there will be more waves. And Maya's trick is to discourage us,
Sure.
you know, is to say, oh, we did this or this problem or that thing, or fight amongst ourselves. Because Prabhupada said we can't be destroyed from the outside. We
Mhm.
can only be destroyed from the inside.
Mm.
So that's why there's all these tricks of Maya where we get, you know, looking too internal,
Mm.
you know, oh, this thing, oh, that thing. But no, go back to the Bhagavatam. What's the whole point of it all? What are we
Right.
supposed to be doing?
Right.
You know, what is the mission and all of that? So I see that you're successfully reaching, you know, a wide, you know, wonderful audience of all kinds of people. So that is ecstatic, because it, you know, if you've worked your whole life on something, I mean, I guess it's the way old people are, you know, that I hope it doesn't all die, you know, I hope
Sure.
it wasn't all useless, you know,
Sure.
or whatever. But then when you see, no, I don't have any doubt whatsoever that, you know, it's planted.
Mm.
All of the seeds and the flowers are growing. How that will continue, that's a mystery. And when, but I just see that you're so successful. So I had to go on and
Thank
on
you.
about
I
that.
appreciate it. And I appreciate your zoomed out mature perspective about it. You are on you and your people, you and your generation they're impossible to understand by us. You had no books. All you had was a man. Would appear like a genie in a bottle almost, showed up on the shores of New York, flew out to San Francisco, and he was almost like a magical, mysterious enigma that was teaching. No, as crazy as your generation was, and with the war going on and the civil rights movement and the drugs and the I can't truthfully, I don't even know how crazy it got, but it was crazy compared to everything else in America before that. And if it came 10 years earlier, it wouldn't have worked. And 20 years earlier, it wouldn't have worked. It had to come at that particular time in history. And when you step back and look at it like that, then you realize, oh, this is bigger than me. This is some magical Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya magic that's going on. We call it on the podcast, we call it Krishna magic.
Krishna magic.
It's a Krishna miracle.
100%
And
Krishna
your
magic.
generation,
Yeah.
you don't even have a book. You
Yeah.
just met a man. And what was Prabhupada's first crazy Krishna miracle mission he sent you on? And how long?
What I want to say once before we
Okay.
go on to that is that, you know, that you know, that explosion that happened at that time when Prabhupada came, you know, it was a setup, you know, that everyone was discontent and searching and all of that. It never happened before. But I feel like that's happening now.
Yeah.
You know, that another, you know, when people get so fed up and so discontent, then they really get serious about, like, you know, people were dying. Our kids, you know, from high school, my friends were going to Vietnam and getting shot and killed. And they didn't know anything.
They didn't know why they were fighting.
You know, my next door neighbor, you know, they don't know, what are we even fighting for? I don't hate these people. Oh, Jai. It's because stupid just came, so we had to say Jai. So I just want to, before talking maybe about Prabhupada a little bit about meeting him, is just to say that I think everybody, I don't think it's controversial to say that the world is pretty crazy right now.
How
all
dare
over the
you?
place. Does everybody agree?
But
And,
you're right,
you
though.
know, so I feel like
Mm.
it's rather than get discouraged by the madness and the craziness, it's more to see that Krishna's orchestrating things to make people more open, more favorable, and more ready to change. You know, the change is required, you know, and that's how we were feeling in the 60s. We got to change. We can't just keep doing what they're doing. It's not working. And so that to me, it's like repeating now. And so now is when it's really the time.
Mm.
You know, people are suffering, really suffering, really suffering. And we do have solutions. They are there in books, you know,
I think
and they're relevant. They're relevant to now. They're always relevant, you know. So the more, that's again why I appreciate that when you can present it in the way that makes it relevant to these people, anybody, whoever they are. And now is a time. Now is so ripe.
Sure.
I
And
think that's
I
my
I th-
speculation.
I think you're right on with that speculation, and I think uh, culture is showing that to be true. People are turning more towards God now because they're just so frustrated. And even I'm trying not to be on my phone so much here. Mara might argue with me, but I'm trying not to be on my phone so much. But every time I just glimpse into the world of what am I missing out on back home, everyone's hate. It's full on hate war going on back home. And it's like I don't want to dip into that. And people are, even the people that are hating are sick of it. You get sick of hating. It just becomes horrible. Life becomes horrible. And so I think there is a call. There's got to be something more. There's got to
Yeah.
be some type of, in a world where everybody hates, you finally break down and say, you know what? Whatever's going on out here, I need inner peace.
Yeah.
And that's what we're selling for free
Yeah.
over
yeah.
here. That's what we're selling, inner peace on a regular basis. And I've met so many cool others like yourself on this trip. I just met an Irish other who came today, just showed up today on the street, and she's like, Mara. Mara never asked to be a celebrity, but walking around Mayapore, Mara is like like a mini celebrity walking around here. People are coming up asking to
Very
meet
cool.
her. And
Very
yeah,
cool.
it's been very cool. So I think in desperate times, when you really feel like this is the 11th hour, it's so dark right now, at that time, it's sort of opening up a stage for Lord Chaitanya just to take the center stage and say, listen, we can do this. And what I love about Bhakti and how it's taught in the Bhagavatam is it's not a conversion process to convert to another religion. It's truth, which is for all people of all times, of all religions. And it's a time for that we take all these little nuggets of truth that you see in spiritual practices around the world. And with this Sanatan Dharma, this Bhagavat Dharma, it is the thread that ties all these pearls of wisdom together. And I'm really convinced it's this concept of prema bhakti, love of God, is what the world needs right this moment.
Absolutely. 100% in agreement. And, because I think people tend to look at, like, say, look at us, well, are we a cult? Are we religion? What is it, But what we're presenting here as a solution is a consciousness. That's why we say Krishna consciousness. It's not a matter of changing your dress or changing your religion or changing anything. Changing the way you perceive, and how you look at everyone and every situation. That's what Krishna consciousness is about. When I say becoming Krishna conscious doesn't mean, oh, now I wear a sari or something. It means that my consciousness has actually changed, that when I look at somebody, I don't do it like how I used to. I
Sure.
look and size you up in a second and already have an opinion on who you are, whether you're worthy, not worthy, whatever, like you, don't like you, in 1 second. It just happens because we're human beings.
Sure.
But if we can become Krishna conscious, or at least make the effort, we say, hold on a minute, that's not him. There's that soul and that heart, and there's Krishna, my supposed most loved person, in the heart of that person. And how can I see that? And then when you have this, it's like a double vision. It's not like you're not going to see who somebody is anymore on the material level, but it will be very, very different. It might look the same, but Krishna consciousness changes the whole thing. It changes the way you see people, the way you talk to them, the way you respect them. And I just feel that is so relevant to anybody. It doesn't matter, where you are, who you are, to change the consciousness. So people want to change the government. They want to change the, conservative to liberal, to this thing, to that thing. And they try to make all these external changes. But when we become very, very clear that it's only internal change that's going to change everything, you change, I change, and then the world changes, so everybody taking responsibility instead of they're doing that and he's in
Sure.
G and he and la la la. And it's just endless like animosity that it's gone so far because of internet and all of that, that
Mm.
so many people we just pull away. Even in devotee community, it's not like it's not there. We know there's
Sure.
battling, arguing, fight, but that is due to a lack of Krishna consciousness, a lack of purification. And there simply is no getting around purifying our own heart. And
Mm.
that's what's going to change things.
Mm.
So
I love that. Now back to back to like this
Prabhupada.
complete faith in Guru. This man who came here with one book or a couple books and basically built an entire mission on unpublished books, but just the students' faith in his words, which is very unbelievable. But we were mentioning it was at a very ripe time. So how old were you? This was 1970. You got into this. We don't use this word anymore that both you and I use. When did you join? Right? Because
But
that's
we
not
did join.
back then. It was like you were in
You were in
or you were
you're
out. That there was no sort of like, well, I practice, but we have these
Yeah.
pejoratives like I'm a
Yeah.
folk member, like or something like, or I'm a fringy. But now it's sort of like people just add bhakti to their life. But you guys were like on the front line, missionaries. Prabhupada said, look, basically it was understood. This is an older gentleman who doesn't have that much long to live. He's got to publish books. He's got to establish temples around the world, and everybody has to know the urgency of this. And what did he do with you, and how did you get into this? And did he tell you directly to go somewhere, or what? How did you step into your service to your guru?
What's interesting is about Srila Prabhupada is that he wasn't like in any way pushy or shoving us to, you gotta do this, but Prabhupada, the intensity within his own heart of him understanding the urgent message, like really understanding, really seeing people suffering. Like Prabhupada would cry sometimes. He would just look out and just, you look out in the world, in absence of Krishna consciousness. It's a very sad thing, and Prabhupada literally cried many times just looking out. He had so much compassion, so Prabhupada had this urgent mood, and because it was there in his heart, like I was saying before, it's like it just spread out from his heart and kind of entered into everybody else, qualified, unqualified, whatever. You just happen to get hit by it. Somebody throws some water and it goes in your face,
Right.
So, I mean, it was kind of like that. Like I'll say, when I first saw Srila Prabhupada, I had already been around for a year. We'd already gone to open temples and done a lot of varieties of things, been out all day on Harinams, 8-10 hours a day, chanting on the streets.
Only been there for a year. This is what you got going.
Yeah, well, I hadn't been initiated yet because Prabhupada was ill. So he wasn't, because in those earlier days, Prabhupada was initiating pretty quickly people. But at this time when I joined, I had seen the devotees from 68 and 69. I was in San Francisco where everybody was,
Wow.
And in the Golden Gate Park.
Where were you from?
And I'm from Detroit.
Okay.
Detroit, Michigan. So, but the thing was traveling, first to California and then going to all the pop festivals
Wait a second.
around the country.
Where were your parents?
No,
in all
they were
this?
long gone. I was out of there as soon as before our high school graduation. I
Oh,
was like, goodbye. Things are happening.
were they a
Uh,
regular conservative family? Was it a broken family?
No, I have a wonderful family. Very normal, about as ordinary and normal as you can get, just real, very
It was just the
ordinary.
times of
But
rebellion.
what's interesting is that when I look back, it wasn't just the times, but I recall, like, I think everyone, if you really think about when you came into this world, even when you were very little or very young, I mean, I remember being very little and thinking, I'm not really part of this. I don't really want to do this. Like feeling like an
Yeah.
observer.
Yeah.
And like I'm watching and I'm doing the right thing. I never wanted to hurt anybody. I didn't want to do a bad thing or anything, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Right.
Nobody's going to stop me. But when I think about it, this is just we starting out, but we've been on this many births story. And
Mm.
so everybody comes in with a very different package, and it's there right from the beginning. I remember being a little kid laying up on the roof, looking at the sky, and just thinking, well, how far does it go? It's eternal, maybe. No, it couldn't be, but there has to be an edge to it, and then there has to be somebody behind it, and maybe like there's all these atoms in my body, maybe I'm just an atom in a bigger body of like maybe
Mm.
there's even more, and until my brain would just like explode, with trying to figure out what the heck are we doing here. Who are we? What's the point? What's the purpose? So I mean, I remember thinking like that, but nobody else is talking like that.
Mm.
So it's like you don't really share. I was kind of shy, introverted, and I'm just, wondering what I'm doing here,
Sure.
So it doesn't start, it starts because we're on a journey, and you see how some people joined and they just already know the whole Bhagavad Gita practically, very special devotees. And so you can see that they came in for a purpose. They came in with a background of bhakti. And, like for myself, I felt, well, I've come in to suffer because I always felt like I was suffering.
Mm.
But not because of anything. I mean, my mother was a wonderful lady and, I had everything and it was fine, but it's just the condition that your karma, you get a package, and you come in and it not, but anyway, so, inadvertently, I was always kind of looking, knowing that, sitting at the dining room table and thinking, I'm not doing this. What's the
I don't want to
point?
play this
You
game.
know, I really,
Sure.
remember thinking and be just sitting there quietly while everybody talked. I was always a quiet one. And so then the 60s and, and there was a lot of, messages in the music and all of that.
Sure.
And I really believed that, the whole hippie thing, peace, love, it makes a lot of sense. I really like bought into the whole thing. And, long story short, it didn't take that long to find out that that was like complete illusion. This is not working. It is not happening. We are not creating peace and love, and we are making a mess, And so that was depressing because I already said goodbye to material life. Like I knew I'm not going to college to get a job, and I'm not doing that.
Wow.
So where do you go from there? So I was not very happy. And reading all the books and of the 60s, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and everybody read all these books,
Right.
Eastern books. And then I saw the devotees one of the first times in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, and 68 or 69, not sure. And I remember watching them. They were chanting, and there was something in me that felt a little frightened by them.
Sure.
Not because they were freaky, because everybody was freaky, but they're
Good point.
serious.
They're serious about being freaky.
Just like armchair, getting stoned, talking philosophy, doing nothing.
Sure.
And, here's these people, so boldly. And so I remember sitting and studying them and watching and looking at their eyes. And I'm thinking, they are not doing what we're doing, because everybody was doing music. There was in
Sure.
different corners.
It wasn't a performance, so to
Drums
speak.
playing. Yeah, that's
There
what
was
I
no
mean.
ego
It's like,
involved.
yes, that's exactly. I mean, I didn't necessarily have the words of what it was, but they are not, they don't care what we think. They don't care if we're even looking. They are somewhere else. And I have taken a lot of drugs and I have never gone to that place where they are,
Gotta try their drug.
well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I and then yes, because I knew that there's a ceiling, you can do something and you can
Sure.
try and expand your consciousness, and that was the whole idea. And but I really saw that this is something different, and then I saw them at another pop festival in Florida.
You said pot festival?
Pop festival.
Oh, pop. Sorry.
Well,
I was like, what was going on there? A pot festival.
You could call it either way.
Right.
You could, but Actually, it was a little group of devotees. So I started chanting just because I heard them, in Golden Gate
Sure.
Park. A few of my friends knew them, and then I had kind of like a hippie house back in Detroit where people just hung out, and somehow there was a mimeographed copy of Easy Journey for Other Planets.
No one
that
knows what
someone-
mimeograph is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's how they copied
let me
things in the
explain
old
to you.
days. A mimeograph
It's
machine.
copying. Like, how do we do it today? We don't even have to copy. We just upload it.
Please send me a PDF of the entire book
Yeah.
on audio.
Anyway, it was, like this copy
Yeah.
that was stapled together. And somehow it was next to my bed. And I remember, laying there in an altered state of consciousness and looking at the front and seeing all these like men with the forearms and all these little circles and planets. You could
Easy
kinda
Journey to
tell
Other
it's-
Planets. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
That book title itself is
Yeah.
very enticing.
So it was very enticing. But the thing is that I couldn't enter into it. It's almost like you have to be allowed entrance
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
Like I'd read all these books. I was such a big reader, but I kept picking up this book and I'd go, this is really heavy stuff.
Mm.
This is really interesting,
Yeah.
but I can't like kind of quite get it.
Grasp it or yeah.
And then I also at another place, I was at someone's house and there was a Bhagavad Gita there, those first purple little ones.
Mm.
And again, I pulled it out and I thought, why can't I like get this? This is so important. I just knew this is so important. But it was kind of a lesson in that, when your time is right and when Krishna allows you to actually comprehend, because I didn't have problem comprehending all these other Eastern things, but somehow I just couldn't enter it, But anyway, then I saw the devotees again in, Woodstock. And then in Florida, yeah, I actually we
Well, I
should
think with
you
Woods,
control me because the thing
Woodstock,
is,
well,
there's
they weren't
there's
invited to
there's
Woodstock.
a lot of stories. There were
Or-
devotees there,
but
and
I heard that Burijan Prabhu sort of just followed Swami Satchidananda on stage and just sort of like snuck on with their group of yogis.
yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I mean, I was there. I was backstage, and I remember, and I was with all these musicians because I was doing what I thought was philanthropy, passing out a really good bunch of something or other to all the
Good stuff to the
musicians
musicians.
who were very happy to
Philanthropy, I guess.
who were very, very happy to receive it because, the idea was that what's important is to expand your consciousness. So the idea was right. It was just the wrong methodology,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I thought I was actually helping people,
Wow.
So, giving these out at Woodstock to all these musicians. And then Joan Baez was there. And, so I'm just passing who's ever there. And she's like, no way, I'm like, well, what? And so she said, look, I got a face. And from backstage, you can pull back something and see there's like this like ocean of people.
Humans. Wow.
I have to go out there soon. Like it was scary for those musicians.
Sure.
There'd never been anything quite like that.
That was huge.
You know? So I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, I did see, when I was out in the field, I saw something that looked like a light in the distance, it was sort of like dark everywhere. And I saw like this little light. I thought, what is that? I'm going to just walk, I kept walking over, yeah, it's still there. It's like this light. And I arrived at those two devotees
Wow.
who were there, Tosan Krishna, and maybe it was Burjan, or I know one was Tosan, I think. And there were just two devotees there chanting. And I was like, oh, this is the source of the light. That's cool.
It is
So
the
I
source
sat
of the
down
light.
and chanted with them. And then, a little later, I went down to Florida. It was another kind of rock festival. And I was with a bunch of other young people. And they were making fun of the devotees who were chanting in front of, as
Sure,
they're
that's
going into
part
the
of it
festival.
too.
So, because I knew a little bit about them and I was chanting Hare Krishna just on my own. And, so I was like, oh, you don't know anything. You guys are just so stupid and you're so narrow minded, blah, blah, blah. These guys are so cool. And I'd never done it. I'd never
You
done it
defended the
before.
devotees
Yeah, I
without
did.
even
And I said,
knowing who they
I'm
are.
going to chant with them, And so then, hadn't done it before. So just to be,
Rebel.
show them.
Rebel to the rebels.
Yeah, rebel to the rebels. And, so I went over, sat down. Another friend that was there came with me, and we just sat there and we chanted for hours and hours and hours, because that's what they were doing. As they would chant for half an hour, and then they'd talk for like 10 minutes, chant, talk. It was Rupanuga, I know
Yeah.
he was there. And consequently, and of course, I was in an altered state of consciousness, so I was able to sit there for many, many hours. And then all of a sudden I realized that, the whole pop fest, hey, we came here for the pop festival, and we just had hitchhiked from Detroit down to Florida. So we were sitting in the sun all this time. So long
You
story short,
roasted.
I said, come on, let's go. I mean, this is great, but we came here for the pop festival. It's happening, so so off we went. And then within a few hours, both of us got what's known as sun poisoning.
Oh, wow.
And my face, it's
Oh,
well
and
done.
you were a redhead freckled
I was a redhead
kid.
freckles, yes, when I was long ago. And it was all,
Oh, no.
puffy and horrible and sore, and we were freaking people out. They're like, oh, we look like monsters. I mean, what happened?
Oh,
We did. We had like blisters that
Oh,
came
wow.
up, water blisters. And so we were hiding in a car and we were like laughing, but it was painful. And we go, oh my God, now we know we're not our bodies. And, because we've been listening to them talk.
Sure.
And then all of our friends, boyfriends, they don't want anything to do with us anymore. They're off somewhere, and here we are suffering in the car. And, so we were having all these realizations, and laughing, and we had to finally go to the medical
Oh, wow.
tent where they, helped us out. But we were definitely having realizations. Just see, we're the same people, and now we're just like sick, and they're all gone. They're not interested. We're not
Amazing.
this body.
You went from you went from attractive, and then all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
repulsed, but you're the same person.
Yeah. So the girl I was with, she said, yeah, I'm going to go join those people, So she goes off, hitchhikes. Eventually she actually wound up with Ken Kesey for a while first.
Okay.
She got to the wrong group, quite different. And but she did actually become a devotee at some point.
Oh,
And
wow.
we went separate ways. But the point is that the devotees were present everywhere. They were at the happenings. They were part of the scene. They were appreciated as part of the scene. They're freaky. Everybody's freaky.
Sure.
Wants to be freaky at that time. But so eventually, we can't tell the whole stories, but eventually I wound up going to the temple and having very unique experiences. I mean, the first time I went only because I was in San Francisco and I didn't even know there was a temple, but I got dropped off when I was hitchhiking 3 times right in front of the temple.
Oh, interesting.
And on the third time, I was like, oh God, this is scary. This is so weird. This cannot be a coincidence that 3 times I'm being dropped off here. It means I'm supposed to go in there.
Wow.
But I had this resistance. I wasn't like the pious souls that want to run towards Krishna. I was like, wait a minute, it's a little
Right.
scary.
Yeah.
And but I did go in, I went in and I remember, and the smell, and I honestly felt I just entered into another planet. I mean, I really experienced that I was somewhere else.
Sure.
And it was, a mix of like exciting and scary, and I don't know what to do. What am I here? What are you supposed to do here? And nobody talked to me.
Me too. That was my experience too. Wild, scary, otherworldly. Please tell me what to do. And no one would. I'm just like wandering around. I didn't even realize there was an altar. I was just like looking around at everything.
Yeah, me
and someone mentioned something about
too.
like, what do you think of the deities? I was like, what deities? There's a deities here?
Yeah.
What is it? I think it's safe to say that it's not so weird anymore. I mean, back then there were no Indians in America, pretty much. There was no, to see someone in a sari, that was weird. To speak of a white guy in a dhoti with a little ponytail, that was weird. now this stuff is all over the internet.
Yeah.
Indians go in you grew up
Yeah.
with Indians in your high school. It's definitely not a cult anymore. It would be nice if it was a little bit more culty, but it's very, very acceptable by people. It was sort of fun when it was a little bit more dangerous, like a cult, but it's not. And yeah, let's make Krishna consciousness dangerous again.
Let's do it.
But I think it's a
Yeah.
lot more palatable and say, you know what? Yeah, people are. I mean, yoga's so big, vegetarianism and veganism is out of control right now.
But, that's what I see as the results of years of the Sankirtan mission and of the holy name going out into the world.
Sure.
Is that, and in my time, talking about reincarnation and,
Freaky weird.
yoga. And I remember the first time I saw a book on yoga, and I was like, whoa, yoga. Whoa, I got to go in and see what is that,
Right.
But now everything is mainstream. So this is how we see that Mahaprabhu's, prediction and all of this, it's happening, it is happening. It's going on. I mean, in 50 years, what a change.
In 50 years.
Everybody talks about, it's no big deal to talk to people about reincarnation or vegetarianism. I mean, I saw a vegetarian person on TV when I was about 12, and he was just on because he was vegetarian. It was like such a freaky thing. And so I was
check
like,
this out.
Mom, look, this guy doesn't need any meat. I think he's really right. It's really good. Listen, well, he couldn't possibly be healthy, honey. It's not possible, because they have the charts where you have
Yeah,
to eat
the
this
four.
much.
We had the 4 food groups when
Yeah.
I grew up,
You
and then they changed it to the pyramid, and now I think they're just like, we don't even know. We don't quite know. We were funded by the Meat and Dairy Council, but
Anyway.
So wait a second. When did you meet your guru, Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, so I went to the temple
In Detroit?
in
Okay.
Detroit after that, and I was thinking that I would just sort of prove them wrong or see that they don't walk their talk or
Yeah,
something.
that never
because
works.
pretty much nobody was walking their talk. I mean, I met all these yogis out in California and all the groups and things, and every time I met somebody, I'm like, no, that's like, he's got a few points, but and so, but that made it easy to not commit to anything,
Sure.
But so I went to the temple not in the mood of, yay, I finally found everything, but I went and I thought I'm going to stay there for a while. And, immediately it was like I just was transported into another realm
Mm.
and I never came out.
And here you are.
And that was it, because it was, at that time, there was such an intensive schedule that was the opposite of the way I lived,
No schedule.
Well, no, I had a schedule. You were up all night and you slept half of the morning, and
Right.
so it was really quite different.
Sure.
And to change overnight, what I have to say is, like, you imagine how much people struggle with quitting drugs or even cigarettes
Sure.
or anything, how difficult and how much money is spent on trying to stop that or help
Rehab- or-
people or
To go to rehab is a
It's like
fortune if you want to.
hundreds of devotees that overnight, like, I went in that temple
dropped it.
and I never thought about, I couldn't care less. I never thought about it. Didn't occur to me, didn't want it, didn't, I am much higher,
That's magic stuff.
so it was, it was really something. And you were drawn into, a serious practice of bhakti day and night.
Mm.
And there was no, I'm not saying that's a way to do it, but that's how it was. And I'm very, very grateful that I had that experience, because I don't think I could have really done it without a full immersion, just, but I was pulled by the other devotees, because there was like amazing devotees, like such nice people, that you just wanted to be with and that were so enthusiastic. It wasn't coming from me. I didn't feel it was coming from the people around me to really, really accelerating me towards doing this, And what I loved was, the classes, the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam was just like, it was just like all the, all the lights came on, and I just thought, yes, I know that this,
Right.
yes. It's not something new. And that's what's unique, is that we don't want you to take something new on board. We want you to find what's already in there. It was very familiar information. Like, yes, I knew that, but I don't know those words, how to say it, how to explain it and everything. So it was absolutely crystal clear to me that the philosophy, without any question, was answered everything that I ever had. And any doubt, I didn't have any doubt about it, but to practice, then that's serious. You gotta, get up early and
There-
serve
well,
all
there-
day, and so that was a bit of a challenge.
There's a tangible spiritual pleasure you get just from absorbing yourself in the meditational practice, but there's also a tangible sattvic pleasure you get when you just start to change all your habits, which you were up all night, and that means you're sleeping half the day. And I think it might be safe to say that everybody in this room has had that schedule before, where you're just like, oh, I worked in a nightclub till 4:30 in the morning, and then I'm sleeping till noon, and then and if you throw drugs in the mix, we don't realize how steep we are in tamagu and the mode of ignorance. And then when you just radically change that, I remember when I first moved into the temple, I was like waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30 in the morning, going to bed at 8:30 when it's still light out sometimes, and it just feels so damn good.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
eating with a bunch of people, you feel like just communing with them, cooking for them and receiving the food with them and waking up early and singing songs. It was just such a positive, different way to live than what I was used to. What to speak of letting go of the gross things that really drag you
Yeah.
down.
It just becomes so obvious, like when you're
Yeah.
situated. It's like when there's a clean sheet, if you pour something on it,
It's
some
obvious.
ink, then it really stands out. So there was just no doubt, like when you're immersed and other people are doing this in a pure kind of consciousness and very much involved. You just feel it. I mean, there's no question. It's like, wow, that was so dark before, and this is so light, and whoa, goodbye to that,
We
forget it.
never got to how you met Prabhupada, and we were running out of time because the show is an
yeah.
hour. But I could just listen to you, and I do, and I will, because the YouTube channel we're gonna put on the show notes. So everyone subscribe, like, follow, comment the YouTube channel, and you do this great thing called 50 Years in ISKCON, which is sort of like the good, the bad, the ugly. It's like a whole overview of the shifts in Prabhupada's movement.
Yeah.
But you also do these other great, and that's what I've been listening to lately, is these great histories of these devotee saints. And one more plug for this book, The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. And in the same way your life's been magical, the lives of these saints,
Yeah.
there have been recorded by other saintly students of theirs, and all of this stuff, as you were saying, has been kept in code. And what's the code? A completely foreign language that a lot of Americans don't study. Who studies Bengali? Who studies Sanskrit? A few weird academics, you know what I mean? But for the most part, this stuff is just surfacing for the first time in a few hundred years, 500 years, 1,000 years, 3,000 years. It's like amazing. So to get this very readable copy of this book, I'm going to highly recommend The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. And I was saying, you've got to write more. You got to write more books. And your response was, it's a lot to write books. But
I've been speaking more.
but you can get all those books on audio. And let's face it, people read less nowadays. They listen to audio more. You just download them or listen to them on YouTube when you're driving to work. And you did a whole series on so many great historical saints.
Yeah.
And you speak very, very eloquently and fluidly and authoritatively, and they're really nice. But before we leave, I really want to hear how you met your guru and what was that was like. We don't have much time left. There's about 4 minutes left here.
Because really, it's something you can talk about for, because the very first time I met Srila Prabhupada, as I said, I was initiated by the mail. So I'd gotten, my beads, and I got a letter from Prabhupada.
Because there were so many people at that time. Prabhupada could
Well, it
only
was just
be
really happening. And Prabhupada wasn't traveling. Mainly, he just went to New York and to LA, and I was in Detroit. So he hadn't been to Detroit yet.
Okay.
So when he came to Detroit, that was mid 71. So I'd already been there from like September 70. And done, tons of different things all over. And so Prabhupada was really, to me, I was knowing him through the devotees. And I had no idea how to, but the moment I've written about 10 pages on the moment I saw Prabhupada.
Wow.
Because like if you've ever been in an accident, you know how like
Slow
it
motion
happens
or
in a
something?
second and but a million things happen
Right.
and go through your mind. So that's what happened when I saw Prabhupada. And it totally altered my whole life.
Wow.
And even if only that 1 second happened in my life was worthwhile. So then
Wow.
I got that verse about a moment's association, because what it is you see spirit, you see it,
Mm.
you know it, like you see this color yellow, you know,
Right.
and so there's no question anymore. It's just your choice.
The quote is,
know?
one moment's association with a pure devotee
Yeah.
will change the whole trajectory of your life.
And that is just, you know, so much, you know, and we don't have time to talk about that. But because Prabhupada, when he entered the room, it was an experience that he filled the room, and yet he was so small.
Mm.
And you know that he was so powerful and yet he was so humble, and there was all this like contradictory things all at
Yes,
one
yes.
time. And I felt like touched it in a part of me that's never been touched, which is me. No one ever touched me, you know. And it was so you know, electrifying and ecstatic and terrible,
Mm.
because I wanted to hide. It was like being exposed, like becoming naked in front of somebody, and there's nowhere to hide, and you cannot pretend. You don't know who you are anymore. All this facade is just dropped. You can't pretend anything, and you're just like a baby there, and just like I just was sobbing, and as were so many other devotees, had very similar experiences. So
Sure.
it's not just, you know, some kind of remnants of LSD or something, you know? But you know,
That's what we were all thinking.
it's
No,
it's very interesting to hear the different, especially airport arrivals. I mean, it's not that every time I saw Prabhupada it was like that, but many people had almost identical experiences where it was almost as if there was a force above us that threw you to the ground. Like I think it's the one time in my life that I paid real obeisances,
wow.
that you could not stand. That's what it means. It means that you can't stand in the presence of such sacredness. And I mean, I fell to the ground. There was no thinking involved. It was like, you do not stand in the presence of such a person.
Wow.
And I had that feeling, and two other devotees told me identical experiences like that. So that was the one time. So even that, you know, whatever happened in life, it doesn't really matter, you know, in a sense, that this was, and that's why I'm so drawn to talking about, learning about these great masters, because they have perfected it. They're the pros, you know. So anybody wants to learn any skill, you got to see, well, how do you do it? Where do you arrive when you are professional? How far can you go in it? How far can you love, you know? And then you see it from these persons, you know, these personalities.
Well, Miss Mara and Linda said, well, you've got to make sure you know, what you want to talk about with her, because she wants to prepare for what you, and in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't have to prepare anything. She's going to talk and I'm going to listen.
And I can't shut her up.
Yeah, it's okay, because I got the big mouth around here. He can't, because Tuba can't shut me up. So it's great to be in the other position. And it was beautiful. I could listen to you
Well,
talk.
Raghunath just talks usually, you know, so I won't have to worry about it. So I didn't even like kind of read your list, really, you know.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. And thanks for everybody. Check out the book, The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur by Sitala Dasi. Available on Amazon in America. Otherwise, you're going to have to fish around for it to find it. We're really honored to have you on the show, and I could have let this go forever, everybody. Thanks to everybody live. Mara, spin it around. Show everybody here. There we go. Wow. And thanks to everybody on Zoom who's listening every day. We got another day off tomorrow, and then we're back at what time, Mara? 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. It is a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow. And Amaha Haribo.